Fuck. Okay. What's up, everybody? Big Blue Power Hour here for round one recap of the NFL football draft. Hell of a day for the Giants yesterday. Hell of a night. Obviously we picked Abdul Carter number one. Then the surprise move. I mean, a lot of people were expecting it. Trading up to 25 with the Texans for Jaxson Dart. I like that move. I know, there's a lot of people in New York Giants land don't like that move, but personally, I like it. You have a quarterback that you like. If you love the guy, you take the guy. It's a quarterback you want, and he fell past the Steelers, and I think, that was the time you wanted to wait. I thought the Steelers might take a quarterback, but obviously taking Abdul Carter is a great move for the Giants. And I'm really excited for it. Like, I think a lot of fans are very happy with that pick. It's all what we expected, kind of. But to have an impact player like that with Thibodeau and Burns and Dexter Lawrence, we'll see if we add some more defensive depth in this draft. And then obviously the other big move is getting Jaxson Dart. We were in a big debate, for months. Is it Sanders or Dart? Do we like Sanders or Dart? And I think, Dart was their guy, but I'm glad they did their due diligence on both of them. So we'll see. He'll sit the whole year. He'll develop. But me, I think it's exciting. And all the people, I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, this is like Daniel Jones." It's like, come on, can we not be stupid now? But me and Evan can't be here today. He's having a technical difficulty, so it's just gonna be me. We'll do a little recap. But from all purposes, I think that Carr is going to be an instant impact player. He seems like I just love the pick. Let's see. Michael says, I believe Giants had a grade A first round picks. I agree with that. I mean, I think the move for Dart was an excellent move. You only gave up pick 99 and you kept 65. And with that 34th pick, they're probably going to pick Jaxson Dart anyway. So you might as well trade up. You give up your compensatory pick. You keep 65. So to me, I think it was an excellent move by Shane. You didn't give up too much, and the Falcons gave up more than we did to move up less than we did. So I really like the draft. I'm very happy with it. I give it an A. If you like a quarterback, you take him. Like, let's stop playing games here. If you're the New York Football Giants, they haven't had a good quarterback in a while. He'll learn under Wilson, and we'll see how he does. We'll see if he plays it all. Oh, the Falcons definitely got fleeced, Michael. Michael says I think the Falcons totally got fleeced. I mean, you trade up, and I really think they need to trade up. I know they got a good player, but I don't know if they necessarily needed to do that. But that's what I was afraid was going to happen for us. I thought that Shane was going to trade up, but we were worried they were going to give up too much. And only giving up pick 99 in the third round in 2026, and that could be anywhere in that third round next year. And you just use 34. So it's basically like taking Dart at 34. You just have one compensatory pick you lost. So I'm very interested to see, you know, who the Browns are going to take here shortly. And we'll see if one of those quarterbacks goes off the board. I like what Philadelphia did getting Jahan Campbell. But like I said, I really like Jaxson Dart. I think he could be a good quarterback. Obviously, he has some flaws. He'll force throws. One thing about Jaxson Dart is he's fearless. So he will lower his shoulder into anybody. And I don't know if we can necessarily advise that in the NFL. You don't want to run the ball and be trying to run over linebackers, run over safeties. That's not exactly the wisest move, right? Like Michael, you're an Eagles fan. You want Hurts to run, but you don't want him lowering the shoulder on people. You want him to get his yards and get out of bounds when he can. You don't want to be taking on guys. But he's going to sit an entire year. Maybe we'll get to see him play towards the end of the season. And he's got a Super Bowl winning quarterback to learn from. And we'll see if Dable can groom him and develop him. And that's really all you can hope for. But I'm glad they got a quarterback they could develop. We'll see. But as for Abdul Carter, he's going to be a plug-in instant starter right away. I mean, he's such a high caliber athlete, and his motor, and I like he can rush inside and outside. And he also asked today if he could wear number 56. He was doing a press conference, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how some Giants fans would feel about that. 56 is obviously Lawrence Taylor, but if Lawrence Taylor's okay with it, I think I'd be okay with it. I think it should be up to the player and their family. That's what neighbors did when you got his number. You contact the family and you ask them if Lawrence Taylor wants to give him 56, then have 56. Got another comment here. The Falcons giving up their next season's first round pick was a bad trade. I agree with that, because the Falcons, who did they take with that pick? I forget who they took here. They took Jalen Walker, and Jalen Walker might have been there when they picked. I forget where they traded up from, the Falcons. I forget exactly where they were. I think they were in the 20s somewhere when they made that trade. Jalen Walker's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a prospect. But I wouldn't have given up that first round pick. See, that's what I was worried about the, early on, like a month ago, that there were rumblings the Giants were going to trade up to number 1. But you got to be careful with the first. But who knows where the first round pick would be? The Falcons. The Falcons could easily make the playoffs next year. But as for the Giants, I thought they had an A first day of the draft. Definitely an A for the first night. And a lot of people are overly emotional, overreact to the picks. I think everyone loves the Abdul Carter pick, but there were a lot of Giants fans on Twitter like, oh, it's like Daniel Jones. Oh, Shane's so stupid. Just go and get your quarterback. Just go and get your quarterback, develop him for a year, and then we'll see how he does. Let's see. Yeah, I'd rather it not be worn, but it's not up to me. Yeah, there are numbers that are worn again, like 56 is one of those numbers, just like Reggie White's 92 of the Eagles. I'd rather have him pick a different number, but I think it should be up to that player ultimately, if you get what I'm saying. I agree with you, though. Me personally, I'd rather the number not be worn, because Lawrence Taylor for us is, the top echelon right there. If not the greatest Giant ever, or one of, easily. So there's a lot of people that are debating about that, but like I said, no matter what number he wears, I hope he just plays well for us, and I think he will. And I think he'll heal over injury. He seems excited. It's always nice when you see him walk in the building. It seems like Dable and Shane are really excited. When they came to the facility and everything. But I love the Abdul Carter pick. I think it's a home run pick, and I think the move Shane made for Dart, I think, is a really solid move. Good athlete, can run the ball, has a good arm. Needs to work on his reads a little bit, needs to work on performing under pressure. Because a lot of people have said there were a couple of games where he kind of collapsed a little bit. The LSU game, Kentucky game, the Florida game, he kind of fell apart a little bit. So, but it's very interesting to hear him talk and hear him go over film. Because John Gruden's been doing that QB thing with the rookies, where I'll take them in the film room, ask them, and Gruden was like, telling Dart, you're insane, you're absolutely effing crazy. And you need to get out of bounds when you can and not take guys on. Really? That's an interesting pick. Yeah, so Sanders keeps falling, man. Keeps falling. So the Browns must not be taking a quarterback at all. I think that's a good pick for them. Yeah, I like that the draft is early. We don't pick till pick 65, and we're around 34 right now. So I think that's a good pick for the Browns. Yeah, I thought the Browns were smart trading back and getting Mason Graham. I thought that was a smart move by them. Now I'm interested to see how far Sanders is going to fall. Because there's only like a handful of teams that really need a quarterback. So I'm very interested to see what happens here. Pick is in. Yeah, I'm going to do a short stream tonight because half hour or so, then I don't want to watch the draft. But we don't pick for like a while, so I'm not really paying attention really to a lot of the players that are picked at the moment. At least the picks will go faster today. Who are the Browns wide receivers? Let's see. I'll look for you. Bob's so excited. Like as a Giants fan, I'm so excited about Abdul Carter. Like tremendously. Here it is. Let's see. Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy. That's a good guy. And Njoku is a good tight end. Blake Whiteheart, Michael Woods the second. Yeah, wide receiver might be a good idea for them with their next pick. But they don't know about Watson. They have Flacco. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what the Browns are really thinking, but their defense is going to be pretty good. Adding Mason Graham, adding another linebacker. Fire Joe Shane. Yeah, bull crap. Yeah, there's my co-host Evan. What up, Evan? He's having technical difficulty. I know, right? I know, right? Poor Kenny Pickett. I didn't know what to think of Kenny Pickett, but oh man. Oh. So Evan, what do you think in chat? What do you think about the pick? Oh, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. You gave up a compensatory pick and you used 34 for Dart, basically. And you gave up third rounder in 2026. That's a really good pick. Yeah, Jaden Higgins to the Texans. That's a great pick for them. Man, with Nico Collins. Man, they're going to be stacked at the wide receiver position. But I don't think they gave up too much. I was afraid they were going to give up more. I was afraid they were going to give up 65. I think keeping 65 was important. Your compensatory pick, you never know what's going to happen with a pick like that. So I do know Thibodeau's fifth-year option got picked up, but would they trade him on a fifth-year option? I don't know about that. I really don't know. My guess is he'll be around. If Thibodeau walks next year, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes. Yeah, they picked up his fifth year, though. Would have gave up 99, a fourth, and a third next year. but they instead of they did give a third round next year, and they gave up 99, and they used 34 instead. So I don't think it's that much. You gave up one pick basically, because if Dart is there at 34, you're taking him at 34, right? That's my guess. They would have taken him at 34. I don't think there was any way to keep 34 to trade back into the first round. The Falcons gave up more, but 34 was the Dart pick, is all I'm saying. That's what that pick was intended for if he got to 34. So I think Shane said, you know what? We want Dart. He's our guy. He fell past the Steelers. If we have to give up pick 99, we'll use it's like picking 34 and using that pick for the quarterback. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, Evan. Like, I'm perfectly fine with it. You don't know, and we have pick 105 or something like that. So I get people wanting to keep 34, but I don't hate Shane for making that move. I can't hate him for it because they have not had a quarterback they could develop. And I do like that he's going to sit behind Wilson. He's going to sit for a whole season and just let him learn. I think that's the right path. It would have been nice if we could have done this a few seasons ago. But I get your sentiment. A lot of people think that they gave up too much. You wanted to keep all your draft picks. You want to keep all your assets. But I think they really like Dart. He was their guy. And if he's your guy, go up and get him. I like the aggressiveness from Shane. I'll say that. You know, because you could have easily pulled the trigger and done this last year and gotten the Bo Nix or somebody. So I like the move. Yeah, so Jaden Higgins, so Seattle's on the clock. What do you think? They go wide receiver? I think the Seattle goes wide receiver here, to be honest. But one thing you got to say is the pick at 65, defensive tackle, running back, and maybe wide receiver. They don't really need a safety. I'm thinking they're going to offensive side of the ball. Maybe a guard at 65. Because they need offensive line. I think they need a wide receiver. They need a running back. And would you be okay with running back at 65? I might be. I really want to get Amari in Hampton, but yeah, 65, you want to get someone that can play. So we'll see. You got to get through the first round first and see who's there. You know, because once you get like later on the draft, like third round, fourth round, fifth round, I think it's a little tougher to decide who you want if you're not in that room, you know, or not in the scouting department. But how do you feel overall? I mean, I think Abdul Carter is a great pick. I think he's going to make a big impact for us. Gives them something else to worry about besides Burns. And Thibodeau, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to trade Thibodeau. I don't know if they're. I don't know how he's going to do. I'd like to see him have a bounce back season. I'd like to see him have a better year. Maybe I might. I might trade Hyatt. Possibly. I like Hyatt's speed, but I'm kind of perplexed last year why he did nothing. It concerns me a little bit. You know, I like his speed. I think that Russell Wilson's a good quarterback for a guy like Hyatt. But if you're going to trade back in, say you're targeting a wide receiver, and you're going to replace him, and you feel he'd do better somewhere else, then you do it. But I don't know if they've lost faith in him, in Hyatt, to be honest. I really don't know what to think about Jalen Hyatt. I know you had Malik Neighbors, but Jalen Hyatt couldn't get targets over Slayton, over Robinson, obviously over Neighbors. I think the tight ends got more. He got like 19 targets all season. And I'm wondering what is going on with him. Because you'd think if he's talented enough, he's getting the offense enough, but he also had 3 different quarterbacks. Let's not remember that the Giants had Jones, who was awful. Then you have Locke, and then you have DeVito, and then you have Locke, and then you have like when you have no consistency, uh, uh, it's tough to really gauge Jalen Hyatt. I would not be mad to trade Jalen Hyatt, but they better have an idea in mind to add another wide receiver. That's something they have to do. If they're going to trade Hyatt, you add a receiver. If you're thinking about trading Thibodeau, you have Carter. So it would offset it, but me, I'd rather keep Thibodeau, to be honest. Let's see. Big Power says, I like Scottaboo. I wonder how Scottaboo would be there at our next pick. I do know we have the pick at the top of the third round. So it might not be worth trading back in, but if Shane wants to trade back in to the third round after pick 65, I'm all for it because you need, if it makes sense and it's a player you want, it's a player you think can make an impact, then do it. But so far, I think they've had an excellent draft. And I know people are mixed on the Jaxson Dart pick, but at least they like a guy and you went out and got him and Shane was aggressive. And I can't say I don't mind that. I I think I give them an A for yesterday. Yep. Let's see if your Jets could be better. It says, yeah. Let's see if he's there in the third. If he's there at the top of the third, I don't know if that's too early for Scottaboo. You know, there's some running backs in this draft. There's more than just him. But I would like him. I think he'd be a nice change of pace. He's a good athlete. He's a tough runner. He keeps his legs moving. I always like that. But some running backs don't do that. You know, it's old school. He's like more of an old school type of style back. And I do like that. I do like that a lot. And we'll see what they do with the third. I think they're going to go offensive side of the ball with 65. Oh, damn it. Damn, Judkins went to the Browns. That's a great pick. That's a good pick for them, man. Yeah, Judkins is a guy I wanted. Like if Dart went and we still had 34, I would have loved to have had Judkins. I think it would have been a great pick. Yeah, Judkins is a good pick. Yeah, I would like the Giants to take a running back. I really would. I don't think it would be a bad idea at all. Because I'm sorry, I like Tracy, but I don't think you depend on Tracy entirely. Gray's okay. Singletary's all right. Let's see. You still got Travion Henderson still there. That's a guy who'll probably be gone by 65. Gotta be. Gotta be gone. Darrell Sampson, good power back from Tennessee. Evan. Uh, you have Caleb Johnson. You have Scottaboo. You have ETN from Georgia. Gordon the third, but he's got injury history. Let's see. A linebacker I wouldn't mind. Yeah, because they have McFadden, Okirike. You know, then they're Burns and Thibodeau. Yeah, there's a good amount of linebackers left. You have Demetrius Knight, Stutzman. You got a Georgia guy here. Jahad Campbell went. There's only two linebackers have been taken this whole draft so far. So a lot of linebackers left. There's a few running backs I would like. Depth is always important. Offensive line depth. Like I wouldn't mind taking an offensive lineman, offensive guard, offensive tackle. There's a guy you liked, Ursery. I think Evan, my co-host, mentioned Ursery. Charles Grant is still there. Yeah, Membu went, Campbell went, Banks, Simmons, and Connerly all gone for the tackles. Now, I would dress the offensive side of the ball. Give me a player like a wide receiver that can play. You can plug in. You got Burden still there. I think he'd be gone. Trey Harris is still there. Horn Jr. I think would be a good pick. I do think that would be a solid pick also. Yeah, but like I said, I'm very happy with the Giants' first round. We'll see what they do here at 65, and we'll see what they do. You know, they only got one pick, so they better make a good one, unless they want to make another trade. So possibly, I wouldn't mind them trading back into the third round. If it's a player they want, a player they think they could contribute. Mike Green's still there from Marshall. Oh, Scorton. I think Michael mentioned that last night. Got Jackson Brady. Brandon Swinson is there. He's a good edge guy, but we don't need an edge guy, I don't think. DTs. Shamar Turner. I think a tackle, defensive tackle, a wide receiver, a running back, I think will be pick 65. One of the three positions. Yeah, offensive guard tackle, I would not be upset with at all. You always need depth in the offensive line. And as Giant fans, we know how sorely lacking we've had any depth at the offensive line. That unit has been an absolute disaster. It's like they're walking through minefields every game. Like you have a different unit every game, and it is quite ridiculous. We're kind of getting tired of it as Giant fans. It'd be nice to have one unit together an entire season for once. For once in the past decade. I don't think it's happened once. One time in like 10 years at least or more. So adding offensive line depth is always smart. Adding another wide receiver, adding another running back, adding a defensive tackle, I think would be a good move too. Any help, guard or tackle. Because there's no guarantee Thomas will stay healthy, right? There's no guarantee that Illuminor will stay healthy. There's just no guarantee at all. So it's something I'm very annoyed about. So hopefully in 2025 they can fix it. But like I said, let's see what they can do at 65. I love the Abdul Carter pick. I absolutely ecstatic about that pick. And Jaxson Dart, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see if Dable can develop him, and we'll see if we see him on the field at all late in 2025. And depending what their record is, are they going to be above 500 with Wilson? Are they going to be under 500? I think Wilson gives them a way better shot to win football games than any quarterback has had in a while. I agree with that. I like Illuminar. I think he's good depth. I think he played well at tackle. He got hurt a little bit, but he could also step into left tackle if Thomas goes down. Like Illuminar, I think was a very underrated signing last season. And we'll see who's going to be the right guard. We'll see if it's going to be Van Roten. I'm very interested to see if Neal could learn the position and be a better guard. Because when you're on an island, it's tough. But when you're on the inside, he's a great run blocker, and that's what I want him on the inside. I want to run down the middle. I want to run straight at teams. And you need Runyon, and you need your guard to be a good run blocker. I think it's easier to pass block on the inside. I think you would agree, Evan. You've played football before. I think being a guard than being a tackle is totally different. You don't got to worry about getting beat to the outside, If your tackle is solid, your center is solid, you play off of them. I put him on the left side next to Thomas at left guard. And I would put Runyon Jr. right guard because right guard's his actual position. But yeah, I just wanted to do a short stream tonight, Big Blue Power Hour, just to talk a little about the picks, how excited we are as Giant fans. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for the short little recap. And go another 5-10 minutes here, and then I'm going to go watch the rest of the draft, and let's see if the Giants can add another piece that can contribute this coming season. Let's see. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. I think transitioning to guard is easier. It's something I think they should have asked him to do last season. Because, yeah, he's a busted tackle. You're not going to try him at left tackle because he played so bad on the right side. So if he can play guard, you can salvage that pick, then I'm okay with it. And I think he can play guard, but he cannot play tackle. Just can't do it. You need a good tackle next to you, and I would pull Evan Neal. I'd pull him and run with Thomas, Runyon, and I'd pull Evan Neal, and I'd fucking just use those three guys to just block for our running backs. So, and you got Tracy. So if we get a good running back, I think that would help Wilson. Tracy will help Wilson, or get another wide receiver. Well, center's hard because you got to make all the calls, right? You got to notice the coverage when you do a shift. You got to make a lot of calls as a center, to set your lineups. It's a quarterback, but also the center. Obviously, the center is pointing at players, identifying guys, identifying blitzers, and you got to stop the ball and be on your feet and be quick. I don't think Neal is done. That's the biggest thing. That's his biggest problem. His feet, his steps, because you can't open your hips. And it's that third step. It should be 3 steps. And if you don't have your feet in the right spot, you will get beat every time. That's the thing about Thomas. If your feet are in the right position, that's half the battle right there. If Neal can keep his feet in the right position and take that step to the outside that you got to take, then just being in the right position will save you half the time. I don't know if he would have been better on the left side because stepping left is what he was used to. He wasn't used to stepping. I don't know. Let's hope they can salvage the pick. That's all you can really hope for about Evan Neal. Wish him the best. I'm glad he decided to make the transition. I'm glad the coaching staff probably got their head out of their ass and said, you got to move to guard. And Thomas has got to stay healthy. So, like one said, we'll see what happens in Neal and camp. We'll see. He's going to have to fight for that job. It's going to be him and Van Roten, fighting for that position. Your Runyon will be your left guard tackle will be Thomas, your right tackle will be Illuminor, and your center will be JMS. And JMS is the guy that needs to step it up. So I'm getting on a little rant here. I wouldn't either. Any veteran that's a solid player, average to solid, that could teach guys, that could step in and play, that's versatile, will help us tremendously. We'll see what happens when they're done with their draft class. Obviously, you got your draft class signed, and then you're going to pick the undrafted UDFA pool. So, we'll see where we're at roster-wise by the time, you got rookie camp over and your OTAs start. Well, I'm very excited for the offseason. I know the Giants have sucked, but I think getting someone like Abdul Carter brings an energy to the building, especially on the defensive side of the football. That brings some excitement to the team. And he's probably the best prospect we drafted in a long time. He's better than Thibodeau. He's better than any prospect we drafted in a long time defensively. So I'm ecstatic about Abdul Carter, and I really like the Dart pick. And it's a wait and see with him. Let's hope that he could be developed and be our starting quarterback for years to come. That's really all I could say about him. I really see the UDFA pool for linebacker running back this draft. Yeah, you pick up all the time you get. I think you could have more players on your practice squad, and I think you could. So I'd like to see him at least 10 or more in UDFA. I think it's like 10 or 12 or something like that. But I'm going to end the stream here. Just want to do a quick recap. Like I said, go Big Blue. Really, I thought it was a really good round one for the Giants, and we'll see who they pick here at 65, and who they pick. If they trade back up to the third, it's a possibility. We'll see, and then we'll see who they pick. With their fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rounds. But thank everyone for joining Big Blue Power Hour, and me and Paul will be back Thursday for NFL Weekly Talk at 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. So check us out. We'll be back on Big Blue Power Hour next week sometime. So thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of the draft. And let's go Big Blue.